Hey friends, welcome to the Adventures of Blink. I am of course Blink and you can find me on GitHub right here. Now before we go any further, I want to remind you that if you get something good out of this, if you learn from it, if you enjoy the experience, whatever it is, drop me a like. That lets me know that I hit the mark with the content and I can produce more things like it. If I don't see that, I don't have any feedback to let me know what's good. So if you enjoy it, if it's good for you, let me know. You can also do that with a comment. I'd be delighted to hear from you. I'd love to start a conversation. It's always fun for me to hear what other people are up to. That's really part of my passion for development in general, is being able to hear other people's stories. So make sure that you engage in some way so that I can find out more about it. The other thing I'd want to remind you is, of course, hit subscribe so you don't miss upcoming episodes. This is, of course, the season finale, and so we are about to go on a little bit of a hiatus. There might not be some content for a while. I want to make sure that if you're a subscriber, you find out that I'm back when the fall season arrives. So make sure you hit subscribe so you can be part of that as well. I don't want you to miss future adventures. Now, I mentioned it already, and that is that this is the season 3 finale. We're done with our exploration of Git. We're finished exploring all the GitLab and GitHub tools. Maybe I shouldn't say all, because we only really scratched the surface. We got a very cursory overview within these 9 episodes. I'm hoping it's enough to help you get started if you've not used source control before and you're trying to figure out how this all works. So make sure that this becomes a jumping off point for your learning journey. But anyway, now that we've finished our exploration of Git, I promised this week that we would do something a little bit different, a little bit off topic, but it's actually going to be a very timely and relevant topic. You see, today we're going to talk about vibe coding. Now, if you've paid attention to any AI news for the past couple of months, you've probably heard this thrown around. It's a label that we're giving to the practice, or we seem to be. It's still a little fluid. We're giving to the practice in which people who are not trained as software engineers are using AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to build things that previously would have required software engineering expertise to achieve. From an outsider's perspective, this is super exciting stuff. It is absolutely thrilling because it means that we live in a time when people can bring their ideas to life very rapidly. And we're talking about any people, not just the software engineers. But anybody who's got a cool idea can bring it to life really rapidly, and they can do that with minimal assistance. The potential of humanity to produce things has never been higher. On the other hand, though, many experienced software engineers have a different take on this.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
Why would they be worried about this? Why would they have a bad feeling? Well, first of all, vibe coding puts the business at operational and security risk. If you have no previous software experience, you won't be able to tell when an AI is hallucinating at you. You can introduce broken, buggy code, or worse, you could actually open security holes. That's a problem. And if you don't have the expertise to see those holes being opened, then you're not going to be able to address them. You're not going to have that sense of the only way I can describe it is smell, to say, this doesn't smell right. I don't think I should be doing it this way. You're just going to be happy it works. And then you release software that puts your business at risk. So using vibe coding in that manner is probably not healthy. Now, another thing about pure vibe coding, which to me means just telling the model to build everything on your behalf, means that if something needs to be modified or repaired later on, you're not going to know how. You won't have any knowledge of what's happening within the system. You're just going to know that I asked the model to produce it and it gave me this code and I ran it through the process and it works. Or doesn't. And so when it comes time to debug something, you're going to be really at a loss because debuggers need more context at a time than even programmers do. Usually when you're talking about debugging something, there's a problem that's occurred in a specific module or in a specific place, but it may not have actually been caused there. It could have been something way upstream in a totally different area of the code that's now causing this to malfunction. And a good software engineer who's been involved in the development of code knows those connections sort of innately because they built them. And when you do this in the context of a model, the model knows what it was doing if it has memory built into it. But if it doesn't, then it's just created that, and now no one really knows how it works. So even if you feed it back to the model, it may not be able to find its problem. And that's going to be really problematic if you put code into production. So when you finally surrender and call the software experts to come in and help you solve your problem, it's going to take even longer because now we have to take apart this thing that's been created. We don't know how it works. We have to untangle it all and sift through the hallucinations and figure out what it's actually supposed to do, and then figure out where it went wrong. So that little shortcut that you took to get it into production faster actually bites you in the long run. Now hold on a second. I want to tap the brakes. I'm not telling you not to use language models in your work. I do it, and I do it basically every day. What I'm trying to express to you is that there's a right way and a wrong way to use these models to help you. If they're used well, they'll help you grow and learn, and you'll achieve great things. And that leaves you with a question, of course. What's the right way, Blink? Well, to me, I think the hint can be found in a lot of the naming that we see. For instance, GitHub's Copilot or Microsoft's Copilot, if you will. Notice the word that I keep saying here is Copilot. Copilots are not really in charge. Yeah, I don't know if you know the job of a copilot, but it's not to actually be in charge. The copilot is there to help the pilot. They're there to provide assistance, an extra set of eyes or ears, or some kind of help that leaves the pilot in charge. The pilot still has their own agency. They're going to do the work the way they want to do it. They're going to fly the plane in the direction they want to fly it. The co-pilot is just there to make it easier for the pilot to achieve that and provide a little bit of a backup, right? So another way to frame this might be like so. Think of AI as your partner, not your servant. If you treat it as a partner, you ask it questions and it'll answer, and you learn from it. You grow and you change and you work together to get to the solution, but both of you get to the solution together. It's a learning experience. It's a knowledge transfer experience. The partner knows things that you don't, you know things the partner doesn't, and you combine all of that and congeal it into a working product. So there's a curiosity there that you have to think about. If you don't understand how something's working, then you can ask the partner to clarify for you. And so the goal is always that the human learns from the experience. But if you're treating your AI as a servant, you drop a list of requirements and it produces something. Hey, go do this, and it does. Nobody in the history of requirements gathering has ever been truly flawless at gathering requirements. I hate to break it to you, and probably all the project managers who ever watch this video are going to throw things at me and dislike and all the other stuff. But we need to be honest. Gathering requirements is something that humans don't really do well. And so there's always going to be something that's unclear or confusing or maybe slightly misspoken or maybe just completely outright incorrect. And an AI can't use intuition. It's just going to do what you ask it to do. It's going to work on the problem and it's going to solve it, or it's going to hallucinate while trying to. So when I think about this concept of vibe coding, this is what I think it shouldn't look like. I need you to do some coding for me in Python. I need a spaceship game with a main menu. New game, exit are the two options on the menu. game will have a large map for the player to explore, where as they explore, they uncover fog. There are 3 planets to visit, 2 star bases, and 5 enemy ships that roam around. When you're within sensor range of the enemy ship, they attack. But if you're faster than they are, they can lose you when you exit their sensor range. You win the game by destroying the enemy ships and then visiting a starbase. All right, now we've got our response. Here's a Python implementation, and we can see a ton of code. Apparently the whole game should just work. So we'll come right back up here and we'll copy this, and then we'll create a new file, new game.py. Paste this in, Python new game.py. Very interesting. So that example might have been mildly contrived. It might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but not by much. Because if you read articles about AI on the internet, you'll hear a lot of people saying things like programming is dead. We're going to hand all of this stuff over to AI and it will produce the software in the future. And we're not going to ever have to do anything except talk to the AI and get our software. And I don't know that that's a good way to be. On the other hand, I think vibe coding probably should look more like this. I need some help understanding my Ruby on Rails project. I have created a controller that serves up API calls to an external system, but now I want to know where in the Rails project I should be putting my HTML files for my application. Where are HTML and CSS files stored in Rails? All right, so having seen those 2 examples, I want you to think about some of the differences between them. For one, there's a level of curiosity that exists in the second version that doesn't show up in the first. I'm asking clarifying questions. I'm looking for more knowledge. I want to understand why we do it a certain way and what are the pitfalls that go into that. I, as the developer, have an opportunity to gain knowledge, gain understanding about something that I didn't have before. And it's similar to the way that I would ask a senior developer to help me out. If I called somebody over and said, "Hey, so and so, I need help understanding how to do this," and they walk me through the process, I'm learning, I'm absorbing through that interaction. In the first example, on the other hand, I'm just here asking for results and I don't really care about gathering any new information for myself. I'm not a better software engineer at the end of that process. Now, the other thing that I want you to consider here is that the context in the second example is much smaller. I'm giving it a very specific thing that I want to focus on how to do, and I want it to ignore the rest of the project and just tell me how to do this thing. This is really important because the language model is actually going to perform better given a smaller context aware task that's like, okay, this is what I have to do. When you give it some focus like that, you're likely to get better results. It has less opportunity to go off on strange tangents and hallucinate and do weird things. So it's important to keep your asks very small. You want to make sure that you're requesting good information, but targeted information from it to minimize the amount of hallucination that is even at risk. Now, I want you to consider as well that if it hasn't become apparent already, what I think separates a good vibe coder from a bad one is curiosity. If you're using AI as a means to learn about your craft, that's you investing in yourself. And even if you're doing it with an AI instead of a person, you're still investing in yourself. You may not get exactly the same returns, but you'll still greatly benefit. There's still a good way to learn and be curious. And one of the things that you can also do is teach yourself to always be skeptical about the AI response. You can try it and you can see that it works, but maybe run it by someone else on the team too and say, "Hey, I've seen this, I got this from an AI. Does this seem like the right way to handle this problem, or is it off base?" And you'll greatly benefit from just having that small conversation. On the other hand, if you're just here to try to make a shortcut to your results, it's like, oh, this is my get rich quick thing, and I'm going to tell AI to produce me some software that I'm going to sell to somebody. That's going to backfire on you. And I want you to understand, I don't want you to go through that experience. So this is my plea to you. Be curious about what you're doing. Try to understand it. Don't just leave it for, oh, that's a technical thing that the AI does for me and I don't understand how it works. I really want you to dig into those things and at least gain some understanding of what's going on as you work together with an AI to achieve. So there you have it. We've wrapped up season 3.
I regret to announce this is the end.
I can't believe personally I'm at this point. I didn't expect the emotional response that I've had personally to being able to produce content like this and put it out there for you. And it's wild to think that just in the span of a year, we've taken these many adventures together. I'm looking forward to season 4. I'm not going to spoil anything quite yet. I'm going to need you to go subscribe to the blog. I'll make sure there's a link in the comments, and I'll need you to subscribe here so you don't miss future video versions. I want you to keep a lookout. There's going to be some interesting things coming, so hang tight and we'll see you soon. Until then, I can't wait to see what you're building, so by all means, send me some comments. Tell me what's going on in your world. I'd love to hear more about how you're navigating these adventures together. We'll see you next time. Take care.